Hi, welcome to this weekly guided meditation practice from Heart Mind Institute. In this week's practice, we will continue our exploration of Neuro-Somatic Mindfulness practice. So as always, we will begin by establishing a posture that for you feels uplifted, relaxed, awake, and at the same time stable. Naturally dignified. And you can do the practice with your eyes open and the gaze down, with just a soft gaze. In other words, we're not staring at anything. Or you can close your eyes if you like. I generally teach the practice with eyes open because I feel it more easily translates into our daily activities. However, if you are accustomed to practicing with your eyes closed, you can do that. Sometimes I will invite you to close your eyes to really take that deeper dive into the body. But having established the deep felt presence of the body, we can then again open the eyes. So you can work with that and experiment with that yourself. So beginning to gently bring our attention to the body, exploring the actual landscape of tactile physical sensation, all the sensations we can notice and feel from head to toe, inside and out. We may wish to begin with the contact points between our body and the chair or the cushion, our feet in the ground, and so forth. Exploring the outer landscape of physical sensation to begin with. This may also include the weight of our clothing, the contact between our skin and our clothing, any movement of air, where we are inside or outside, the air temperature, and the passage of air across the nostrils and or parted lips with each in-breath and out-breath. And as always, if the mind wanders, we just redirect our attention back to the body. Somewhat like when we're driving a car, if the car begins to veer out of its lane or off onto the shoulder, we just correct, right? We just turn the wheel back to be in the proper lane. So we just redirect our attention back to the body, to the actual direct experience of body, of sensation in the body. And you're also invited to begin exploring the inner landscape of sensation within the body, the overall weight and mass of the muscles and bones, the presence of any areas of discomfort, aches or pains, stiffness, sensations of relaxation or tension, aliveness or numbness. Blood circulation, the heartbeat and pulse. And the overall flow of nervous energy in the body, the quality of energetic presence, aliveness in the body. And again, anytime the mind wanders, we simply redirect our attention back to body, to the direct experience of body. If we find we really went down that rabbit hole of discursive thinking or daydreaming, the minute we awaken from that, we'll suddenly be back. But we could kind of get the footprint of that discursiveness, and get the distinction, how it feels different, that distracted mind versus being present and awake. Not stopping to analyze it or think about it, but just, getting that distinction. So over time, we're getting really clear that it feels very different to be in distracted mind than it does to be in awake mind, presence. If we continue making a gentle effort to really explore the body, however, we're less and less likely to become distracted, because we are making that shift from the default mode network, the busy discursive part of the brain, or the neural networks that support the discursive activity of the mind, and the task positive network, where we are more focused and concentrated. And as we bring our attention again and again to this landscape of tactile physical sensation we call the body and the breath, we're cultivating attitudinal qualities, openness, curiosity, non-judgment, non-striving, self-acceptance, self-compassion, and so forth. Basically, we're cultivating a benevolent space of non-judgmental awareness in which we can simply meet our experience as it is, moment to moment. Allow our experience to simply be as it is, moment to moment. Allow ourselves to simply be as we are, moment to moment. And making a gentle effort and cultivating an almost passionate curiosity to really know ourselves as deeply as we can, and to experience the body as deeply and precisely as we can. How deeply can I experience my own body right now, in this moment? How deeply can I feel into the body right here, right now? Now, we're working with two modalities of mindfulness and awareness. One is the witnessing or observing mind, where we notice sensation, we observe sensation, and there is a sense of separation. There's a sense of there being a witness, a watcher, who's doing the observing, the noticing, or the witnessing. And that's fine. That's the first step, and very important step. And when that stabilizes, or as our attention stabilizes, we can sometimes relax that and relax into what we call direct sensing or feeling. Well, there's less sense of separation, or perhaps no sense of separation. No need for a watcher, or even a feeler or a sensor. There's just direct feeling, direct sensing. We simply rest our awareness within that flow of sensation. So, for example, finding that sensate flow we call the breath, all the sensations arising and falling away with each in-breath and out-breath, the contraction and relaxation of the diaphragm muscle, the rising and falling of the belly, the opening and closing of the rib cage, the lungs filling with air and releasing the air, and the passage of air across the nostrils and or parted lips. So we could be observing all that with a sense of there being an observer or witness. And that's fine. That's the first step. Being able to step back from our experience and actually observe observe our experience gives us the freedom to be conscious and be a choice in terms of how we are going to respond to the content of our experience. And as our attention stabilizes, we could perhaps relax into, rather than observing the breath, feeling the breath, just feeling the breath directly with very little or no sense of separation. And then perhaps we could relax even further into simply being the breath, becoming the breath, being the breath. And then the breath is breathing itself. So there's a helpful analogy here. So this is somewhat like being in a river to begin with. Before we start practicing and developing mindfulness and awareness, we're just in a river of sensate experience, all the different sense perceptions, emotions, thoughts, without much consciousness, without a lot of mindfulness or awareness. Always some, perhaps, from time to time, but often very little or none. And then when we begin practicing, it's somewhat like climbing out of the river onto the bank of the river and sitting on the bank and then observing the river, observing the flow of sensate experience. So observing the hydrodynamics, fluid dynamics of the river, the eddies, the whirlpools, the current, debris floating by in the river, maybe even small boats or people if it's a larger river. So whatever is flowing by on the river, we're observing it. And therefore, we're able to be a choice in terms of how we would respond to that. We're aware that we are observing the river and the content of the river, the qualities of the river. So this is witnessing, observing, noticing. Then the second modality, direct sensing or feeling, is like sliding down off the bank and back into the water. However, this time we enter the water with awareness, with consciousness, with mindfulness. And we feel the wetness of the water. And we directly experience the hydrodynamics, fluid dynamics of the water, the current, the eddies, whirlpools, and so forth. So we're back in the river, but now with awareness. And very little sense of separation or none at all. We could perhaps be one with the river. However, with awareness. So awareness doesn't actually require a separate observer or witness to be aware. Awareness can be aware of itself. So this is the landscape we're working with here in Neuro-Somatic Mindfulness, cultivating a deeply felt presence of the body, activating interoceptive awareness, our capacity for interoception or internal perception, and exploring that ever more deeply all the way down to the bones, based on the fact that our entire body is living tissue and all sensory, all the way down to and including the bones. And with that deeply felt presence of the body anchoring us in nowness, anchoring us in the present moment, we can work with these two modalities of witnessing or observing on the one hand and direct sensing or feeling on the other hand. And the further and further our attention and awareness stabilizes, we can relax into simply being, pure presence. Simply allowing ourselves to be as we are and resting in pure being, pure presence, without any separation, without any need for a separate watcher or beer or anything like that. So as always, I encourage you to continue your practice for as long as you are able or have time or are willing in this session. And throughout your practice this week, to continue working with deepening the felt presence of the body as the anchor for your practice, really exploring the body as deeply as you can with gentleness and curiosity, non-judgment, and working with exploring both of these modalities of, on the one hand, developing that witness mind, and then relaxing that as our attention stabilizes, as our awareness stabilizes, into direct sensing, feeling, and then ultimately into pure being and presence. And then throughout the day, you can come back to that at any time. And I encourage you to, anytime you remember to do so, just stop, feel whatever you're feeling, breathe, remember to breathe, and be. Stop, which has a quality of cutting through, interrupting. Feel, feeling whatever we're feeling, physically, emotionally. And then allowing ourselves to breathe, let go, and then relaxing into pure being or presence. Stop, feel, breathe, and be. Have a great week. Thank you.